After 5 years of being a recording artist, these are the four things that I wish I knew when I started 5 years ago. And trust me, this will save you so much time and frustration and money. Let's get to it. Okay, there we go. First one. First one, they say it's the hardest one. I was thinking that why don't I journal? And I do journal. But I feel like I don't journal enough because there's so many good things that are happening in my life that I need to somehow document it. And I said, well, I am a child of the internet, and the internet era has, shaped our lives in a way that we can. Everything is shared. So like you go somewhere, you eat something, you share it. So I was like, why not do this? Why not record it on a camera for my future self to see it? And yeah, so it's been 5 years. I'm doing this because it's been 5 years. It's been 5 years that I am officially releasing music. And after 5 years, I'm finally trying to, I'm finally starting to understand it. Just a little bit. 5 years ago when I started it, it was during COVID time. I released my first song. And it went okay, like any other first song that you do as an independent artist. You don't know how to release it, you don't know how to advertise it, you don't know how to distribute it, you don't have anybody to talk to about it. It's just a circle of friends that you do it, and they show some support, and that feels good. But for me, when I started it, music was not necessarily about releasing. It was like therapy to me. So I wrote that first song, and after that, in the last 5 years, I've written over 300 songs. Um, just capturing every moment, every situation that I've been in my life in the last 5 years. And that's why I've been journaling less, because my songs have become my journal. And it's become a part of my life. Whenever I feel like I'm not doing well, it is mostly because I'm not creating and I'm not writing. Um, some people might say that that's not a good thing, but it's been working for me. So I'm fine with it. Now, I'm going to tell myself what I've learned in the last 5 years. I've read a lot of books, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. That's the new university to me. And the first thing that I've learned was that consistency beats everything else. I've met a lot of incredibly talented people who've got the most beautiful voices, who've got the most on point ears that whatever they hear, they can play it right on the spot. Or those who write the most beautiful lyrics and they can just write on the spot. But what I've seen, what I've witnessed so far, is that the reason why a lot of people don't get to where they want to is because they don't do it continuously. They don't show up every day. I read this book which really changed my life and my vision towards um, writing music and being a creative or a creator. And that's The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. By far, so far, my most favorite book that I've read, and I continuously read it. Technically, I listen to it because it's with Rick's voice and what he says in the book, I can relate to it every single day. And what he said in the book that made me work the way I work today is that you have to you have to look at creating like a job, whether it's part-time or full-time. You have a schedule and you show up. You show up every day. You do a little bit every day. If you're not perhaps creating, you maybe are cleaning. If it's a job, so you have a desk in a typical job, or you work as a cashier, whatever. If there is no work, it's not like you're going home. You're standing there, you're cleaning, you're organizing, you're writing, you're calculating, you're planning, you're networking. And it's the same with music. It's the same with arts. You have to show up. You have to show up every day for it. Whether it's practicing your instruments, like my guitars that I have here, or the piano that I'm trying to learn now. Or if it's writing a song, or if it's learning how to use a DAW. You know, there's so many good DAWs out there that I've been using them interchangeably in the last few years. I started with FL Studio, then I switched to Ableton, and now I'm on Logic Pro. And now I kind of wish I knew Pro Tools, so I'm considering to learn Pro Tools, because Pro Tools I've learned, well, another thing I've learned is the standard in studios. So a lot of mix engineers would actually prefer that you give them a Pro Tools project. So a lot of session players, a lot of, good session players that have been in the industry for a while, they use Pro Tools. But yeah, consistency and showing up is the key. And the other thing is you have to stop writing music for what's trending. In every day and age, there is something that's popping. And if you write for what's popping, it's never going to work, because you're always going to be behind. What I've managed to lean into more and more and more, and by the way, don't get me wrong, at first I was like, this is what people want to hear, and I always failed when I thought that way. Now I'm trying to go almost the opposite direction of wherever everybody wants to go. But I've done something for, I would say, 85% of time. Most of the time, I'm going to say all the time, every time that I write a song, I'm writing it for my own self, for me to listen to it. And if I can't stand it, if I can't stop listening to it, it means that I really love it and I really need to release it. And that has worked for me. A lot of artists, I hear that, they're not comfortable listening to their own music. I'm my number one listener on Spotify. And it's because I make music that I want to listen to. I make sounds that I feel like it's not out there, so I'm writing them. I make that sound so that I can listen to the music. So, second thing, make music for yourself. Make the music that you enjoy listening to. Third thing, which I actually learned it from a really good mentor of mine. He said that artists at the end of the day need to perform their songs. So when you're releasing a song, it's good to think about the catalog, the big image, the long-term image that you're building. And this is the question that kind of shifted how I've been working. Are you comfortable performing this song 10 years from now? And that really made me think differently. Um, so maybe this is something to consider too. It might, it's a double-edged sword because that might limit your creativity and make you overthink, which I'm against it. But at the same time, now, you know what? Let's look at it this way. Create whatever the fuck you want. But when it comes to releasing, choosing what to release, maybe do consider that. And I've been considering that. And the most important thing for me in the last year, which is a new shift for me, is lyrics. Am I comfortable singing this lyrics 10 years from now? Because you go to somebody's concert, now not the ones that are just beginning to perform, but let's say someone a little bit older, somebody that has been performing for like, let's say 30 years, let's say Andre Bocelli. Okay, Andre Bocelli comes and he has a set of anywhere between 18 to 32 songs. It depends on the length of the concert, it depends on the venue, it depends on a lot of things. Unless he's performing a new album, which in a lot of cases, older artists don't release albums as frequently as new artists, so they just go tour. When you're in the industry for 30 years, you have a repertoire of 20 songs. Those are 20 songs from 20 years, 30 years of writing songs. So think if the song that you're trying to release and you're putting in investment in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of marketing, in terms of putting yourself out there, is this song, from your perspective, is this going to be one of those songs that you're going to be comfortable performing 20 years from now? Is this going to be one of those songs? And if you feel that way, maybe you can invest more into it. Maybe you can market it harder because you just feel like this is one of those songs that I want to perform for the rest of my life. So this is the third point. Fourth is I've had a number of collaborations with different artists. And what I've seen is that you have to know how to use DAWs, how to mix, and how to produce. If you can know the basics of how to record yourself, how to edit, how to have a decent-ish mix, which is, by the way, simple. And if you can understand how to work around the production on a DAW, it just makes you way ahead of, I would say, 80% of the artists out there, because 80% of those artists really don't know. I've walked into studios that the guy had no idea how to record himself. Maybe it was that specific DAW that he didn't know, but I've seen artists that literally have no idea how to record themselves. And if you come up with an idea and you have to wait to go to the studio and record, it just takes away that feeling, that head rush. A work that I create, the best feeling that I have is when it's created at that very specific moment. So consider that. Consider learning how to use the most used DAWs. And by the way, in every continent that you're in, the DAW that is used the most is different. So here in America, in studios is Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton. I hear in Europe Cubase is a big thing. Here Cubase is not used as much, or the same with FL. So it's a give or take. So if you're investing time in learning a DAW, make sure that you're learning the one that is standard in your region, or it's the most standard globally. I think the most standard globally, the three, I think number one is Pro Tools, then it's Ableton, then it's Logic. But I'm seeing Logic climbing up and becoming, especially for production, it's like the go-to. It's becoming the go-to. What else? Oh, releasing music. And this can be, episodes and episodes of talking about it. Until like 6 months ago, I had no idea what a rollout is. A rollout is when you're releasing a song, there is a pre-release and there's a post-release. And this pre-release and the post-release is what makes your song heard. I was that guy that thought that, listen, if your song is good, it's going to do good, it's going to be heard. Bullshit. It's no longer like that. You're competing with hundreds of thousands of songs being released per day. 80%, more than 80% of the songs on Spotify in a given year. So that's like millions of songs. Don't get past 1,000 listeners. You need to have a rollout. You need to create a rollout for yourself if you're independent, or ChatGPT it, or study case studies, but you need to have a rollout. Your release starts probably 6 to 8 weeks before your release date, and then it can go indefinite depending on what type of project it is. If it's an album, it's longer, but if it's a single, it's usually 6 to 8 weeks before the single. You start creating a buzz, and then you go another 6 to 8 weeks heavily on that single. And what I've learned, guys, TikTok, it converts incredibly with listeners. Instagram doesn't do that as well as TikTok. And I've learned that, I'm going to wrap up, I think, but I've learned that through one song, which is one of my favorite songs. Like if anybody tells me, what's your song that you really, really like? It's Dario. It's a song that I wrote. And anyways, long story short, this song was my favorite song. It was dead on Spotify. It was getting like 3 listeners per day for like a year. Okay. And then I posted this video on TikTok and on Instagram. Now look at how different these two platforms can behave on a certain video. I posted it on Instagram. It got like 2,000 views. Okay. It was nothing. And then Instagram, the way it works is that if your video reacts well in the first few hours, then you have a potential to like make that go viral. If it doesn't, it's almost dead. TikTok, it's not like that. So I posted the video on TikTok. It was doing meh. It wasn't doing anything. But then 4 weeks later, it starts to pick up. And it goes to hundreds of thousands all of a sudden within like after 4 weeks. For another 4 to 6 weeks, it really picks up. So I'm like, cool, nice, I'm getting new followers, whatever, great. It was one of those days that I go on my Spotify for Artists and I check, and that song, Dario, that was dead, and it was getting 3-4 listeners per day, jumped to 600 to 700 listeners per day. And it's still going. So Daria now has become, I think it's number 4 or third on my Spotify, and it's a song from 2-3 years ago. So content, content, and don't overthink it. People like content that looks amateur today. They like the raw content. They like to see that you've taken it with an iPhone and you have not overthought it. And I've literally tested that. I've had productions with like red cameras that are like cinematic, and they've gotten 1/10 of the engagement compared to the content that I've shot on my iPhone for Spotify, for Instagram and TikTok, especially TikTok. So it's been 20 minutes that I'm yapping. Yeah, I wanted to share some of my experiences with you, and this is also for myself to look at, a few years from now, and see how I can add to this and what I've learned more. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'm not going to cut this video, I'm just going to straight up upload it. It's shot from my laptop, not even my iPhone, so wish me luck. And yeah, I would love it if you guys subscribe to my channel. Go listen to my last few releases. I have many more songs coming this year, and stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Cheers.